Some people will say that YouTube might be killing the craft of woodworking, but I think it might actually be saving it. It is that time of year again. It's the end of the year, and there's a lot to reflect on. There's a lot to think about. And there's a lot to say to you that I don't often get a chance to say to you because I don't do these kind of sit down and reflect at the camera videos all that often. Because let's be real, this is YouTube. They don't do well, but I think they are important so that you know who I am and where I stand because, you watch my videos on a regular basis for the most part. And I think honesty is a really important part of this relationship. So here's what I want to do. I am going to make a thing because I have to make a thing to fulfill a contract. And I'm just going to let that thing play while I talk so that you don't have to look at this ugly mug for the next 10 minutes or whatever it is.
Man, number one, damn, he ugly.
So let's get busy. Here's what I've been thinking about. As the year ends and time for reflection is ample, I've been reflecting a bit on my woodworking journey because 15 or so years ago, I started out desperately wanting to be a furniture maker. Like I fell in love with the thing and I knew that it was the thing I was going to do. It hit me and it was like falling in love with a girl. It was just immediately an enthralling thing that I knew I couldn't do anything else, but I didn't know how to do it. And I didn't know if it was a real viable career path. But I set out anyway because I'm a hard-headed, stubborn son of a bitch and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. And in the beginning, it was rough sledding. I made things out of pine. I didn't know what I was doing. They were ugly. I took a couple of commissions and spent more in pine from the big box stores than I got paid for the entirety of the commission. So there were learning bumps and bruises to be had for sure. And I went back to school. And when I came out of school in 2013, I took jobs at cabinet shops. I did assistantships. I remember the first real paying woodworking job I had was being an assistant at CFC, and I got paid $7.50 an hour for it. The idea was that I could trade the experience and the work that I was being paid to do for classes. So I also got to take a number of classes that I would never have otherwise been able to afford to take in that time. And it was an immensely valuable experience, but I was sustaining on peanut butter and jelly and pasta and butter. It was not a career path. It was a job to meet an end, to fill a gap, to learn, to grow, to set more roots. And similarly, many of the other cabinet making jobs I had at the time were in that same vein. I got paid more because they were viable career paths, but it was not all that much. People who work with their hands aren't valued in our society as much as people who think with their heads. And that's unfortunate, but it is the reality in which we work. And furniture makers exist in this place where we are both designers and craftspeople. We are both artists and makers. And so time goes on and my skill set grows and my value grows. I can afford to at least pay my bills doing the thing that I want to do. So I kept making things and kept building a portfolio and kept building connections. And that's when the whole social media thing started. And it worked because now I'm here and this is my full-time job. But the point I'm trying to drive to is we often critique social media, and rightfully so, for the negative impact it has on people. It has its drawbacks, but I think it also has a tremendous amount of value, specifically at least in the woodworking space, for a couple of reasons. Number one, for the viewer, you all now have an immense library of information at your fingertips. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of bullshit on the internet. There's a lot of bad advice and bad practices and bad designs and bad projects. That's 100% true. And your job as the viewer is to learn how to suss out the good from the bad. That's the responsibility of the reader, of the viewer, of the person who takes in the information, is to gather enough information to learn what's good and what's bad. And that's not easy, and I'm sorry that that's the way it is. I wish it wasn't like that. But that is how the world works, and I think that's how the world has always worked because there's always been snake oil salesmen. But nonetheless, you have an immense amount of information at your fingertips, and you can learn from some of the best craftspeople on the planet, even if they don't have their own YouTube channels. Like, Yuri Kobayashi has been a mentor to me since 2011. She is, and I stand by this, the baddest I know in real life. She is one of the best wood sculptors in the world, in my opinion. And there are videos of Yuri on the internet teaching for free. That is a thing that you do have. That is a thing that we have never had before 2008, 2010. That's an immense value. And for the maker, for the person who makes things, for the person who utilizes YouTube as a business opportunity, we have an incredible vehicle to teach and to make actual money doing it. And this is the whole reason this reflection came up, is because I got an email the other day from what will remain an unnamed fellowship program, an art school, a wood school, a craft school. And they were offering a fellowship. And the fellowship was 3 months, and the stipend was $2,500. Now, you can do the math out, but that's less than $1,000 a month, so less than $250 a week. Now, again, I get it. Housing is covered, and you have an opportunity to use a shop and work in community with other people. So both of those things have real financial value, but $250 a week is a hard sell, you know? And don't get me wrong, I think those things are worth doing, and they have value that reverberates throughout your career. That's the reason you go do those types of fellowships. But when you're bouncing around from fellowship to fellowship, and I have friends who do this, you never make enough money to not feel stressed about what's gonna come next. And then you have this thing called YouTube, on the other hand, where you can invest in your business and make the objects that you want to make. You work on speculation, which is what those fellowships are for largely. And you can provide value to a community who wants to learn to do the things that you have the capacity to do. And you can make enough money to sustain yourself doing it. Now, with every real opportunity and platform like this, there's going to be overcrowding, so it's not easy, and it is a hustle, and there's a lot of variable factors in there, some of which is just a straight up gamble. Like, you don't know what video is going to do well, you don't know what video is going to tank. You can put a lot of work into a video and it gets a couple hundred views. You can put no work into a video and it blows up and it gets 1 million. That's part of the gamble of social media, but that's also part of the gamble of putting a piece of work in a gallery. Like, you can put 3 months of work into a piece and put it in a gallery and it doesn't sell. And now you have to figure out how to store this credenza until you find somebody to buy it. I think that gamble is inherent in the work that we do. But YouTube, it provides a community. It provides information, and it provides the possibility, at least, of the democratization of our income, the spreading out of our income among many avenues. And you have vehicles like Patreon that allow you to do that allow you to offer more value, deeper value for people who want to participate and support, and do that in a way that's accessible to people. Like, all of those things, all of these things that are happening, the value to you as the viewer, the value to us as the makers, the avenues of income, so that I can, and this is 100% true, I will be 100% honest with you. This year is the first year in my life as a 37-year-old person who has been working since the age of 12, so whatever that is, 25 years. This is the first year I've ever made enough where I feel comfortable that I don't need to impulsively work to make sure that I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage at the end of the month. And that is a feeling that I cannot express how grateful I am to have, because I didn't grow up in that situation. And I chose a career path that made it really difficult to get to that point. But I'm there now, and it's because you guys chose to support me. So thank you for that. But all of those things, allow this community to exist on a platform like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, wherever that value exists, that promotes the craft, that promotes people learning. And whatever vehicle you take to learning the craft is the vehicle that preserves the craft. YouTube is not killing the craft of woodworking. The craft is changing. The craft is shifting. It's growing, it's evolving with the technology that exists now, but it is not dying. In fact, I think it's stronger now than it was 100 years ago. More people are doing it, and more people are really good at it. The reality that you are capable and that other people are equally as capable as you, that is a profound realization, and I think that really, really matters in people's lives. So I just want to say thank you for being a part of this, because there's a deep sense of joy every day that I get to come to work and do the thing that I want to do and provide value to people. And that doesn't exist without YouTube. That doesn't exist without my patrons. That doesn't exist without my sponsors, in fairness. And I hope that, I don't know what I hope. I don't know what the end of that sentence is, but I know that I am hopeful. So maybe that's where I'll end it. So, thank you.